All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something pretty fascinating. In a world that's just obsessed with performance, constant upgrades, why do some folks, enthusiasts, actively choose to keep, well, seemingly inefficient old tech?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really hits at, what people value beyond just raw speed or the latest thing. We're diving into the world of vintage Tamiya radio-controlled buggies, specifically from the 1980s.
Ah, the golden era for some.
Exactly. And these weren't toys. Not really. They were serious hobby-grade machines, high performance for their day. I mean, the Frog model actually won the 1984 German Nationals.
Wow, okay. So competitive stuff. Our mission today, then, is to explore why this dedicated community fiercely protects the original designs, especially things like their horizontal damper and monoshock suspension systems. They mostly refuse upgrades that are, let's face it, technically better now. For them, it's the car's character, its soul. We've been digging through forums like RRC Cars, rcgroups.com, even TamiyaClassic.com to really get a feel for this appreciation.
And what's really interesting is, like you said, this isn't ignorance of modern tech. Not at all. It's a very conscious choice. They're prioritizing historical authenticity, that unique experience, over just pure performance numbers. Like user Vatdav put it nicely, Tamiyas are for enthusiasts, where every aspect of the hobby is enjoyable, not just the bashing gracing part. It's the whole package.
Right, the building, the history, the driving, quirks and all. So how does that play out? The visual signature seems huge.
Oh, definitely.
That horizontal damper,
Yeah.
basically the shock lying flat, right? It creates that iconic, low, narrow, kind of wedge-shaped nose on cars like the Fox or the HotShot.
Exactly. And if you try to convert that to standard upright shocks, you need a big, tall shock tower.
Which completely ruins the look.
Totally changes the silhouette. And for many, these aren't just RC cars, they're display pieces too, like little bits of industrial art.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then there's the handling, the mechanical soul, as you called it. These unique suspensions give them really unique driving characteristics.
Like the Frog's famous bounce.
Yeah, the pogo stick bounce. Or the Fox having, well, pretty limited suspension travel compared to modern buggies. But these aren't seen as flaws to just engineer away. They're personality traits, things you learn to master.
Out of the challenge.
Right. User Thud mentions something like, my issue with the Frog is general looseness, sloppiness in the front steering, but it still can go in a straight line. The fun is driving that vintage machine on its own terms.
Makes sense. So, okay, where's the line on upgrades then? Because people do upgrade them.
Yeah, that's the collector's paradox almost.
Yeah.
Invisible upgrades. Totally fine. Encouraged, even.
Like ball bearings instead of bushings.
Exactly. Ball bearings, modern ESCs, the electronic speed controllers, maybe a slightly hotter motor, even period-correct hop-ups like old CRP parts. Those are generally okay.
Because they don't fundamentally change the core design visually or structurally.
Precisely. But the front suspension conversion, putting on those tall, modern shocks, that's usually seen as the bridge too far. It's highly visible, for one, and it often means drilling into the original chassis tub, modifying the core structure.
Ah, okay. That feels like a violation to a purist.
Yeah, it permanently alters that piece of history. So let's maybe trace that history a bit. This whole monoshock thing.
Good idea. Where did it start?
It really kicks off with the Frog in 1983. It had this clever inboard spring system, no oil damping yet, just to get that super low nose profile.
Okay, so springs inside lying flat.
Then the Fox, 1985, makes a big leap. First true oil-filled CVA monoshock mounted horizontally. Proper damping now.
That must have improved handling quite a bit.
Definitely a step up. Then later that same year, the HotShot. Ambitious. It used the monoshock concept front and rear.
Both ends. Wow.
Yeah, though the rear was apparently quite complex, maybe not the easiest thing to get working perfectly. So later models in that family Boomerang, HotShot 2 Super Sabre, they kept the iconic front monoshock.
But went back to a more standard DualShock setup in the rear.
Exactly. More practical. Like, user SoloPro noted this kind of suspension looks nice, but admitted it's not as good as a regular two-shock setup. That trade-off, again, aesthetics versus function.
So Tamiya was already kind of adjusting the formula. Then came the Thundershot family, 87 onwards.
Right. And that series is often seen as the most refined version of the front monoshock idea. It was integrated into a new chassis, better geometry, supposedly tackled things like the wild bump steer that could affect earlier designs.
Bump steer, where hitting a bump makes the wheels turn on their own.
Yeah, not ideal for control.
So it's interesting, Tamiya themselves eventually made factory DualShock versions, didn't they? Like the Super HotShot.
They did. The Super HotShot, the Terra Scorcher. Which kind of serves two purposes, doesn't it? For some, it justifies modifying an original HotShot to DualShocks, but for the purists, it just proves their point. The original monoshock versions are distinct, separate models with their own unique place in history.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener? This loyalty, it isn't about rejecting progress. It's really a celebration of a specific design heritage.
These buggies, they're more than just old RC cars. They're like rolling sculptures, real pieces of engineering history.
And that soul, that character people talk about, it's forged in those specific, sometimes unorthodox, original suspension designs. Appreciating that original vision.
Yeah, exactly. Which maybe leaves us with a thought to ponder. Thinking about this deep dive, what unique quirks or maybe imperfections in other things could be design, art, maybe even, how people interact, what might you be overlooking or maybe dismissing too quickly, when actually those very things might be what define real character, real history. Something to think about.